hundreds of battles were fought by the colonies. And you could do the numbers, but maybe 1 out of 15 were won. That's a guesstimation. Because some battles, it wasn't exactly clear who won, but the vast majority were won by the crown. But it was the perseverance, and it was waiting till the main British army was tied down with the French, and when their main fleet had been destroyed in the Atlantic. It was the fact that they bankrupt the coffers of King George III. And Hamilton and others came to Washington. What they don't tell you in that little short piece is they said, we want you to be king, a large contingent. And he said, no. And he left. He didn't want to be president, but the people wanted it. And then the second election, he got voted in. That's what the people wanted. He couldn't wait to get out of Washington. And in his farewell address, he said, don't get involved as an empire. Don't join alliances with other countries. They will come in and take us over. They will bring us down. Because the French had tried to come in and do that during his first and second term. And he went home to his farm and died 2 years later. He was offered to be the king of America. That's why Mexico's so corrupt today. They had kings. They had Austrian-Hungarian Empire kings. The kings of Europe would send their princelings there. And Mexico's run by a ruling shadow oligarchy today. Every other country has scum running it. North Korea. Everywhere. China has a bunch of corrupt thugs. Their people are good, but they didn't have George Washington. They didn't have Thomas Jefferson. The French and their revolution was a wicked counterfeit of what happened here. And they attempted to take that over through Washington, and he said no later. And that's a whole other history. But I think about how domesticated we've become in this country. I think about how all over the country, I see the reports, I talk to parents, I meet parents where they're scared of an orange Nerf gun, where the schools are banning tag and dodgeball and hugging or talking. We're all becoming prisoners under a psychiatric dictatorship. Mothers think it's good to make their sons and daughters cowards and helpless, to raise them up to be hapless weaklings like legless and armless gerbils in a cage, disarmed, defanged, so the boa constrictors of big government can eat them at their leisure. Rediscover the spirit of 1776. Rediscover who your ancestors are. Rediscover what freedom really is. You know, in my film, Police State to the Takeover, we show government training manuals demonizing the Founding Fathers. In my film, The Road to Tyranny, we have footage of Thomas Jefferson, Benjamin Franklin being called terrorist by FEMA, brainwashing police. We've released over the years, that's been leaked to us, scores of inside government training manuals demonizing veterans, gun owners, conservatives, libertarians, real liberals who are against war, not the fake establishment type. You are the target of this criminal group. They know history. They know their history, and they know our history, and they know what they've got to destroy. They know what they've got to bring down. They know what they've got to demonize. But the way they've destroyed the image of George Washington is showing, you know, one of the final portraits of him, an old man, big lips, big mouth, big ivory, painful teeth. That's, he really had ivory teeth, not wooden. You know, all the battle wounds he had going back when he was in the militia and fighting the French. They show that image of an old man, and they teach you in school that he had teeth that hurt and that he got bled to death. And that's all you're taught. It's just some boring, stuffy guy. They don't want you to know what founded this country, or they want to demonize the founders and talk about the problems and the bad things they did, which were there, but compared to their contemporaries around the world, these were the highest expression of the Renaissance, the highest expression of virtue, the highest expression of humanity, the highest expression of the Greek philosophers. I've studied it all. And it's not hype when you talk about our founding fathers and how great they were. The world marveled. The King of England said, he is the greatest man in the world. George Washington turning down kingship, turning down the British payoff. The King of England called in several U.S. ambassadors, one of them, Adams, and said, you're going to need a king even if you win this thing in the future. The royalty really believed. They said, what about democracy? 51% will vote to rob the other 49. The howl of the mob. And they said, no, we have a republic where everyone's rights are protected. And that's why they've now replaced the republic with the democracy. If 51% say kill the other 49, it happens. And I want to read to you two different quotes attributed, confirmed to George Washington in letters and speeches, different variants of this. Unhappy it is, this is 1775, after Lexington and Concord, the massacres. Unhappy it is, though, to reflect that a brother's sword has been sheathed in a brother's breast, and that the once happy and peaceful plains of America are either to be drenched with blood or inhabited by slaves. Sad alternative. But can a virtuous man hesitate in his choice? George Washington after the battles of Lexington and Concord. Washington also repeatedly made the similar statement, but shorter, that it is better for our land to be drenched in blood than for us to become slaves of our own government. He said that in 1776 once he took command of the Continental Army. And so FEMA is right to hate George Washington because it is an alien, illegitimate, criminal, corporate receivership arm taking our country by fraud into bankruptcy and perfecting a neo-feudalistic form of serfdom, of shutting off people's resources through artificial scarcity and monopoly capitalism to create an ultra-super elite and shut down all their competition and have one-child policies and bring in a form of tyranny never dreamed of over man. In all the government textbooks, in all their reports, in all their own statements, this is a group of vicious, wicked, greedy control freaks versus free humanity that just wants to live and be comfortable and be free and be left alone. Well, you're not going to be left alone. George Washington wanted to be left alone. But government grew and grew and grew, and the bureaucrats were rude, and they violated the laws, and they were corrupt, and they did whatever they wanted. And when police shot innocent, unarmed citizens, men back then got angry, and they went to war. And these were men who owned a lot of property. They were members of the establishment, but they understood tyranny. There's another big reason men haven't risen up quicker, and that is because, and it's now been on Fox News and now in Japan and they want to put lithium in your water. An they want to put Prozac. They're testing it. They want to put, what do you think sodium fluoride does? Why do you think your sperm count's down by over 85%? And they're bragging in the news. Our fertility's dropping. We're becoming sterile. It's so great in The Economist how the population problem is solving itself. Then you open it up, it says, the dividends of the demographic change, how it's bringing big benefits. They're killing you with chemical weapons.